car blows.
No way, it's like a Batmobile.
Who cares? Batman's a stupid old TV show.
I read in Starlog they said they're gonna make a new Batman movie.
It'll flop. Nobody's ever gonna pay this.
Into this movie, I'd just gone crazy. Like, I went to a mental hospital for a while, and I got everything worked out. If you ever need help, kids, reach out. There's nothing wrong with it. I had stopped smoking weed because I'd been in for a month, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, I haven't smoked weed in a month. Let me keep going. So this was the first movie that I was going to direct where I hadn't smoked weed. And then I was so non-smoky that I fell down this existential rabbit hole. If these kids know anything about me, because they're all like in their early to mid-20s, in all of that time, I've been a stoner. So what if they come to set and they're like, where the fuck is the guy we thought we were gonna work with and shit? So I was like, oh shit, Authentic Kev has to make this movie. And Authentic Kev hasn't directed a movie without being stoned since Cop Out. So from Cop Out forward, man, every movie I made as a stoner. And when you're a stoner director, man, there are no problems. You just constantly see the joy of creation. You're just like, what do you mean, man? That person doesn't show up. Anybody else? Are you kidding me? They're having a good time. We're making movies and this is nuts. Let's do it. When the movie was done, I eventually asked the kids, I was like, were you guys like disappointed that like I wasn't stoned the whole movie? And Nick was like, you weren't? And I was like, no, oh my God. He's going, you were always so quiet. I was like, that's not the kind of stoner I ever was. I was chatty stoner and shit. If I realized, since I wasn't stoned while I was making the movie, I finally realized what I do for a living. I'm like, oh, like I artificially try to recreate wonderful things that have happened to me and moments that I felt were absolutely magical to try to relate that to an audience. And then for the rest of my life, whenever I see the movie or somebody references that point that had once been so personal to me and now is just some element in a movie that I made, I have this kind of warm feeling of like, oh, I remember when that was mine. Like, and now it's everybody's. My Mrs. Rodriguez plays like the hot usher that works at the theater that you eventually find out wants to be a filmmaker. I'm going to get real emotional talking about this. And gives them essentially the idea for like, you can make movies too.
You know who Martha Coolidge is?
Yeah, movies are my life too. Valley Girl is in my top 10.
Scene did not exist in the script until a week before we shot it. What had happened was I got a text that who had come to our theater and done a show. Like I did an evening with George R. R. Martin at Smodcastle. And the person I thought was George R. R. Martin was like, I'm going to be near Jersey this summer. And I said, well, this is great. Do you want to be in this movie we're making? Do you want to like be sitting in the theater? Like want to do a cameo? And then the person wrote back like, I would love to, but do you know who this is? And I said, yeah. And then I was like, wait, do I? And I looked and it was George R. R. Martin is in my phone as GRRM. Genesis Rodriguez is in my phone. Anything about us making a movie. And I've just asked her to be in it. It's like George could sit in the audience as a cameo and it'd be cool. Genesis is like an actress that, you know, legit, like it'd be weird to just have her sitting in the audience. Like, you know, she gave like one of the best monologues I've ever shot on film in Tusk. So I was like, yeah, man, come out and play. And she was like, all right, I'll call my agent. And I started thinking of a scene or character for Genesis to play. I was like, oh, I can write a scene that's kind of like when my sister told me to like be a filmmaker.
I've never met anyone who wanted to be a director before.
Sure you have. Just look in the mirror.
Me? A director? Nah. I just love going to the movies.
Yeah, man. That's how it starts.
Because of that dopey-ass mistake, I wrote her that part, and it is the best scene in the movie. It makes me cry every time I see it. She like nails it so well. So you want to talk about happenstance? Like if she hadn't texted, I never would have thought about Genesis and I never would have written that scene. And that's